Good evening. This is Game Week 14. This is the return of the Ben and Geoff podcast. Now, we're a little one member short. Ben is with his family for Christmas. You just have Ben and Geoff here, the two British guys. But we're going to take you through Game Week 14, a week of big score lines. Geoff, it's Christmas. We're coming up. What is your favourite Christmas movie?
That is a great question. Can I give two? Because I've got two.
Absolutely.
Okay, number one, Jason and the Argonauts. And it has nothing to do with Christmas, but it was always on TV over Christmas when I was a kid. Do you remember? Do you always remember like flicking through the channels as a kid and there was like skeletons thrusting swords and attacking people and Medusa with her hair and the mirror on the shield? It was on TV every Christmas.
Are you talking about He-Man?
And
Skeletor. Have you got confused?
Yeah, the Power of Grayskull. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, your favourite Christmas movie is He-Man, the one.
And yeah, it's definitely He-Man, and that's why like my relationship is on such rocky shores at the moment, because I do insist on watching He-Man every Christmas and making everyone watch it in my house.
Yeah, and that you had that massive crush on Battle Cat, and that you make your missus wear Battle Cat makeup, and yeah. I get that.
Are you saying that it's not sexy to ask your girlfriend to dress up as a powerful Catwoman? Are you telling me that isn't of any interest to you?
What do you think Battle Cat's name was before he changed it to Battle Cat?
I know what his name was.
What was it?
Cringer.
I thought it was Cringer. So, like, at what stage do you like do the whole transformation with her, where you call her Cringer and then she changes to Battle Cat?
Well, look, it's all about psychological domination. I don't want to get too much into it on this podcast. That's not why we're here.
And then what's your second after He-Man?
You started before the podcast. You were saying, "Could you please not use the C word because Joe Field watches this."
Don't use it.
Now we're talking about BDSM, and
we're not. You took it there. I asked you your favourite thing. You said He-Man. We should have left it at that, not gone down some crazy furry rabbit hole that we went down.
Is there some football to talk about?
No, tell me your second favourite Christmas movie.
Oh, it is Love Actually. Why are you laughing?
Which one's your favourite couple?
What's so funny about that? Why'd you laugh so hard at Love Actually?
Well, because it's like your two favourite are He-Man because of your furry fetish, and then Love Actually. What's your favourite couple in it?
I don't have a favourite couple in. Oh no, without a doubt, my favourite couple is what's the guy who's in The King's Speech?
Colin Firth.
Colin Firth, him and the Portuguese woman who they fell in love with. That was a beautiful story, and I really liked that. And that was like a very natural love, and she was funny, and that was really, really good. But my favorite character is Colin. Colin, who goes to Wisconsin to meet some babes. And just his whole part and his whole short storyline, I think, is like magic of cinema. Here comes to Colin, Wisconsin babes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I love that whole thing. It's good.
Well, both of us live in America with British accents, and surely you can attest none of that is true.
Babes. I didn't quite hit the coordinates right. I'm in Chicago, but
I was lied to.
Oh, it's weird.
Definitely misled. Do you want to hear something funny about Love Actually? I don't know if I told you this. Do you remember the DJ who's playing at the wedding, and he goes, "This one's for all the lovers in the room," and the two are like, "This is going to be the worst party if he plays blah 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 this song." But do you remember? He's black. He's got dreads. He's got like. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the bad DJ. He's not very good.
Yeah,
and he's just like playing cringy songs, and Rick Grimes is like putting his head in his hands and going, "Worst DJ ever."
Yeah. So that guy, He went out with my sister about 2 years ago. He's a famous comedian. We went to dinner with him. He did us so dirty. He's a bit of a scumbag. But yeah, like that was his big break. Well, not his big break. He's this really big, famous stand-up. And then he ended up going out with my sister.
That's amazing. So first of all, your sister is a very powerful, confident.
You don't know which sister I'm talking about.
Beautiful woman. And let's just talk about that for a bit.
All right, on with the football. So, my favourite is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. So,
why is that?
Why?
Chevy Chase.
It's my favourite. One, it's funny. So quotable movie. It's funny. It's so easily watchable. It's like a warm blanket you put on every Christmas. The end is absolutely nuts, but the characters are great, quotable. It's fantastic, so Christmassy. And I think I see myself in Chevy as well. All I want is that big family Christmas where everyone comes over. And I think, isn't that what everyone wants, maybe? And it's so good. The house decorating.
I've never seen that movie. I'm gonna have to check it out. But more important than that, we have been talking for quite a few minutes. That 12 minutes 51, is that how long we've been recording for? No. Is that how long we've been on the chat?
This is very professional, this part, but that's how long we've been chatting. The stop recording part says 6 minutes 38 seconds.
Oh, okay, 6 minutes. What I want to know is what is our record for how many minutes do we talk without getting onto the football? That's one.
We're well past it. We're well past it. I told you this is going to be like the Noel Fielding, Russell Brand podcast where we don't talk about football. We just talk about nonsense. We should probably reel this in. This is what happens when Ben's away. Do you want to talk about football now? You should watch Christmas Vacation.
Well, I think some football happened, so let's do it.
There's so much football happening right now, but you should watch Christmas Vacation. It's fantastic. But let's get into the football. So, first game I picked. I wrote the agenda. You can see it's going to have a heavy Man United bias to this as well. Yeah, but Man United 6, Leeds 2. So that leads me to the question of the day for you. Why are we seeing such big score lines this season? This isn't normal. We're seeing massive score lines, but it's not like one team coming in, stuffing everyone. It's sometimes like Villa got 7, Liverpool got 2, Spurs got 6, Man United got 1, and now we're here, Man United 6, Leeds 2. Am I imagining this? Is this a season for insane score lines, and why?
I really don't know. There are theories out there, right? You've probably, I don't know if you've probably heard the same theories. That at first because there was this idea at the beginning that people would think that maybe there would be less goals because of home advantage and the crowd and the 12th man wouldn't be there to gee on the teams but then there's this other theory that there might be more goals because of the new VAR rule and increased penalties and there's so many factors in a game of football over 90 minutes. It's hard to say. There is more goals, right? There's a lot more goals. And the one theory that I heard, I can't remember who I heard mention this. I was either listening to another podcast or I was reading it somewhere, was the idea that the creative players have more freedom. There's less pressure on creative players, and that is kind of like liberating them to kind of maybe do the kind of things that they would normally do on the training pitch, that they would maybe be too intimidated or too afraid to do in front of a crowd of, I don't know, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70,000 people. It's the only thing that I can think of. I have no idea, though, what the real reason is. There's no study, is there? I really don't know. I like to think that it is that. I'd like to think that these players are human beings who, imagine playing in front of at Old Trafford. Imagine the away team at Anfield. And how stifling that is, and how intimidating that is. I'd like to think that it's as simple as that. No idea though. What were your thoughts?
So that just reminds me of like Mika Richards on Match of the Day with this weekend. He was talking about how hard it was to play for England, that you were so played within yourself because you didn't want to be written up in the papers. So although like I get this, like you're more prevalent to try new things, that there's an expressiveness in your play. You don't feel like the crowd's on your back. You could see more goals. I guess that's true, but I'm not seeing like insane goals or really like crazy talent or expressive football. I think my theory here is that we're seeing a huge emergence of the counter attacking formation. So this is a new thing for this season. Really, Leicester won the Premiership of it on a few things a few seasons ago. We've really seen attacking teams like City and Liverpool dominate, but there's been an emergence of this formation where you sit deep and you're built. The whole team's built to counter attack. Spurs, Man United, and I think that it's made to exploit when a team pushes on. And as soon as you get that early goal, that you're going to keep that other team's going to keep pushing, keep opening up space, and you're built to counter attack. So that's why we're seeing these crazy score lines, is because you're seeing one team that's built to push high, score goals, create, and one team built to counter attack. And I think that just that mix of the formations that we haven't seen in seasons past is maybe why we're seeing so many goals this season.
So you mean like versus like previously there was always like, oh, you're just gonna, that phrase of like, oh, just gonna turn up and like park the bus and just try not to concede.
Yeah.
Now there's a different strategy around. It's like, oh, we can actually do something about this, and we can just wait and bide our time, and we can not only just shut a team out, but we can just wait and bide, like save our energy, bide our time, be smart, wait for the right opportunity, and we can actually turn over this big team that normally we'd be expected to lose against.
Well, I think that's what the park your bus strategy. I think in counter attacking is different from. I think we saw a lot of park your bus, two banks of four, sit very deep. But now we see this counter attacking. We see very quick players. We see the transition much quicker. We have the right players to build that transition, hit a long ball. So like the release of Son, the release of Rashford, the breaking of Scott McTominay through the lines, how you kind of absorb the pressure, break a line, and then hit the counter attack. So I think we've moved from parking the bus to full counter attack, which I don't think teams had that before, apart from Leicester, where they won when they won the Premiership.
So is this a change to like just like a complete change? Okay, so like people are talking about like, obviously it's a pandemic year, so people talk about that and like try to like it like has its own pedestal in terms of analysis, and it has its own variable that isn't applicable to other seasons. But so you're saying that like this idea of like this kind of evolution into teams with like quick, pacey, adaptable fullbacks is like really a changing of like football as we know it into a more even playing field, or at least maybe not a more, if not a more even playing field, then definitely more attacking options from any team.
Yeah, I think we're seeing it feels like football's a constant evolution. So I think like the last few seasons we saw the advent of a very, very high line, the press. So let's push high up the field, defensive line up to the halfway, push, win back the ball early. You see that from Liverpool, you see that from City. And then you're starting to see teams develop a plan against that. So you're starting to see the counter attack football. You're starting to see this season two teams that play counter attacking football. A great example this week was Leicester City Spurs. Two teams that don't really want the ball, that want to sit back, let you come high and hit you on the break as well. So I do think this counter attacking is new. And I think parking the bus was about let's sit deep, defend, and let's hope we score off a set piece and we do a smash and grab. And I think it's so much more nuanced, this kind of counter attacking we're starting to see.
Or at least, yeah, at least more at least more deliberate in like feeling like you're owning the opportunity to attack more than these kind of teams would have previously. Certainly, like the teams who are less expected to win. Yeah, totally get that. Although talking about like Leicester and Spurs, like they are both teams who like to sit back and can be quick on the counter attack, but nobody wants to sit back and give up the possession as much as Spurs. And I do think, I don't know, that's 2 games in a row, and I know it's tough, and I know that they played Liverpool and then they played Leicester. 2 teams who are in form, 2 teams who are going up there challenging for not only Champions League places, but maybe Leicester challenging for the league. I don't know. Spurs dropping points to those teams, that's no big deal because those are big teams. But I do feel that starting to, maybe we'll come to this later. I do think it's starting to unravel a bit for Spurs, and that might be too much, but it's the kind of what I've predicted and what I thought would happen. I think they've been overperforming. I think they've been overscoring. They've been taking advantage of kind of like slim chances too well for my liking. And to see them lose 2 in a row doesn't surprise me at all. To see them lose 2 in a row by slim margins doesn't surprise me at all. And I think that's going to be a lot of the rest of their season.
I totally agree. I think that teams are starting to catch on about what Spurs was all about. I think it was a surprise, and I think that remember the season that Leicester won the league? Still, Chelsea, like in that last game, they were chasing Chelsea, and Chelsea beat them 2-0. And it's because even though you knew what Leicester were going to do, you thought you could beat them with good attacking football, but you just get picked off on the break as well. So I agree, and I think it's a hard thing when you only create 1 or 2 or 3 chances a game, and you don't finish that. You're only 1-0 up. It's always going to be dangerous as well. And I think Leicester have been doing counter-attacking football much longer than Spurs have, and sometimes it's just your day, and sometimes it isn't. But yeah, I agree. I think the depth or the lack of depth that Spurs have is really going to start hurting them for the rest of the season.
Mm.
Let's finish up this Man United Leeds chat as well. So, did you watch the game? What did you think? I thought this was a long-standing rivalry of a game, long time coming, and did not disappoint. For me, I think everything played out as expected. What was your take on the game?
Yeah, I think I said last week when we looked at the preview of this game, I think I said that this game was made for Man United. I think maybe my words were, if I remember correctly, and that kind of bared out. I think if we know anything about Man United, that they are set up to hit teams on the counter. We know that more than any other team, Leeds play with reckless abandon, and we love them for it. But they were. I didn't see any other result. I'm not surprised. I didn't see them scoring 6. I didn't see it being 6-2, but I'm not surprised they score a lot of goals. And so I think it's a fair result, but I don't know. They had some lucky goals, Man United. I didn't watch the game itself, but I watched the highlights, and I was kind of. I think some of their goals were lucky, but then I thought there was other moments where they could have scored a bunch more goals. I don't know. What was your take as the Man United fan? Yeah, what do you think?
So I agree with you. I think they've been training for this game for the last 2 seasons since Ole set up as well. I think the formation they prefer, they knew how to play it. They kept hitting deep. I think we were a team with a lot of energy, and I think that they brought in a lot of players who had a lot of energy. McTominay's man of the match performance really came out of nowhere as well, although he really does play really, really well, or at least perform in those derbies as well. But he was great. I will say, like, not just the formation was great, but just the way the deep runs from the back. So Fred's runs into midfield, Scott's runs Luke Shaw was making very deep runs as well. So once you lost your marker, you had a very, very clear break as well. So I think even it went a bit more beyond their formation, having the right people, but they knew who was going to be making those runs and creating that space as well. I think United looked really, really, sometimes just classy as well. Their goals were really good. There were so many shoulder dips, so many sending the players the wrong way and then breaking the next. And I think they looked really, really classy doing it. But yeah, I think, let me ask you this, because you touched on it earlier and it was interesting, but Bielsa's way of, like, you know what you're going to get with Bielsa. You almost know what you're going to get with Solskjaer. And we called this from the beginning that something's got to change, otherwise Bielsa's team's going to get picked off. So is Bielsa playing the same way no matter your opponents? Is that respectful of the system, or is that naive? Do you have to change your formation in the Premiership? Do you have to change your tactics depending on who you play?
I think before this season, I would have said yes, but I don't know. There's something about Bielsa and the way he sets up his team that is kind of like bucking those norms, those traditional norms of what you need to do in the Premier League. And I find it absolutely fascinating. So for him, if we're talking in like the context of Bielsa and Leeds, I'd say it's neither. I think that he has got a team. He like operates in such a unique way, and he has his team so well drilled. He has his team doing things that other team. I don't think I've seen a team operate like this in the Premier League before, and I don't think it's about respect. I don't think it's about naivety. I think it's about this is our.
Well, the professionalism shines through again. Do you have to get
that? Well, you know what? You get what you pay for. I don't get paid for this.
That is for sure.
I guess what I was saying was that like Bielsa and Leeds, it's not respectful. It's not naive either. It's about like, okay, this is the system that we play. This is what we do to win, and it's regardless of the opposition. This is the system that suits our players the best. This is the system that we are most used to playing, and regardless of the opposition, this is what leads us to the best chances of getting points from this game. I think it's as simple and as brutal and ruthless as that. I don't see it being anything else.
Do you think they can play another way? So surely playing that way against a team that sits deep and hits you on the break is going to cause. Can they play any other way?
But do they? Well, obviously, they could play another way, but the question is, do they need to, and should they play another way? Like as a team who was in the Championship last season, a team that hasn't really changed very much apart from one or two signings. Like, should they be expected to be like, oh, now we're in the Premier League, now we should play a different way. Now we're in the Premier League, now we should like respect these big teams and defend more. I don't necessarily think it's true. I think like you know your team, you know your system, you know how you should play, you know how your players interact best and play the best. And I just see that is what Leeds have going on. And I think it's gonna have a big impact on future seasons in the Premier League. I know people talk a lot about Bielsa and his repertoire and his history and his record and what he brings to the game. And I do think that this could be something that really does inspire other managers and other teams. It'd be interesting to see how it pans out. It'll be interesting to see how they finish in the league, and it'll be interesting to see how they do next season. Are they going to, like, if they stay in the Premier League? I'm really fascinated to see, are they going to splash some cash and try to push up the league? Or is this just like what Leeds are? Is this what Bielsa is? Is this what they do? I'm really fascinated to see the evolution of it. But I think he's just doing what they need to do, regardless of respect, regardless of naivety. I don't think it's either of those.
Yeah, it certainly makes for entertaining football, and I think it's been a breath of fresh air to the Premiership. So long may it continue, and I hope they stay up as well. It'll be interesting to see when they bring in more players and different players what that does to the style and just the way they play. But yeah, I think it's been a breath of fresh air. All right, on to the next game. So another huge scorer here was Crystal Palace 0 and Liverpool 7. Now, they do say a team that's on top at Christmas goes on to win the league. Is the league all wrapped up with a nice little bow for Liverpool?
Well, I don't want to harken back to the beautiful predictions that I made last week, but I think last week when asked about it, I did say that I don't really see anyone else with the capabilities to win this league, and I continue to think that Liverpool winning 7-0 away at Crystal Palace is certainly no reason for me to change my mind about that. Do they have it wrapped up? Of course not. Are they the most likely to win the league? Of course they are. Of course. 100% they are the most likely to win the league. And so that's what I'm going with. And I think what Liverpool have in their favour at the moment, they've got Firmino back in, scoring goals, looking happy, blinding me with his like ultra whiter than white teeth. We've got Mane upset about like being hauled off. The team are in a great place. I do not see anyone else winning this league other than Liverpool. I don't think anyone else is even close. Last week I talked about how like I was really confused that 538 have Man City as favourites. How most of the pundits on a lot of the podcasts that I listen to started the season with Man City as favourites. I just do not know what they're talking about. I don't know where they get it from. Liverpool have lost only 5 games in the last 90 Premier League games. I just do not see anyone touching them.
I think I have to agree. And I think last week I said that the fact they're still top with all the injuries they've had is amazing. And they've got all those players coming back. So their depth, their system speaks volumes about how well they can play, even without key players missing. And I thought Van Dijk would even things up, but I think they've just got so many good young quality players or players that can play in multiple positions to drop back. I think they've filled those holes really, really well. I do agree. Now, Firmino was brilliant, and he's gone under a little bit of criticism this season, whether he should be dropped for Jota or not. But they've always talked about him being the creative force. They want to see more goals from him. He saved them last week with that bullet header against Spurs. He had another brilliant performance as well. So I think we can all agree Firmino is back, or that he's an area of brilliance. The money thing upset me, and I know I've seen Salah do that as well, but and everyone was like, well, it's great. And help me think this through, but everyone's like, it's great. It shows that he wants to score goals. He wants to stay on the field. And do you remember when, was it last season, Salah didn't square the ball for Mane, and they had a massive strop. And then, like, Firmino again was
throwing his hands down and slapping his thigh on the bench, and like, yeah, I remember it well. Yeah,
they talk about Mane being Mr. Nice Guy, but I think he's not Mr. Nice Guy. He's just a little bit of a petulant brat.
I totally agree. Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier today. I watched the game, and yeah, I saw that, and I'm not at all surprised to see Mane throwing his toys out of the pram. Not at all surprised. It's like he comes across as someone. Okay, so first of all, I need to caveat this perspective with the fact that I do think it's positive that you have a striker who is like single-minded and is just out for themselves and just like, look, I'm here, I'm earning the money, I score the goals, I'm good, I should be like star of the show. I get, and I think that is an important characteristic. But yeah, is he Mr. Nice Guy? Definitely not. He's out for himself. He wants to score goals. He wants to be there in the heart of Liverpool 90 minutes every single game. Yeah, I'm not that impressed with. I don't really know what to say apart from the fact that I'm not at all surprised with how he reacted. And also, he's also not really starred the show either because you have Mohamed Salah in your team.
I agree, and I think he's had a much better season than I think Mane's been quite quiet this season, and he's not been up to his best as well. Because there was one point last season where they were pretty equal, shot for shot, goal for goal. I, I know that they say that like it's great. I want to see a striker be hungry for goals. I want him to be selfish. That's a sign of a good striker. I'm not sure that's true when you've got such a fluid front three. You've got such a condensed season. You've got young players, Firmino, Jota, rotating in and out when they're fit. Like a lot of it is about, listen, this is a marathon, not a race. We're going to rotate you. And the fact that Mane is, it doesn't sit well with me that he is throwing such a strop about coming up in a game that's already wrapped up. Like, that's great. But I feel that when you start to go individualism around, like, I just want to get my goal numbers up, I don't know, like, especially in that fluid front three system, it's not about being selfish. It's about sometimes you have to make the run, putting that defender away to make space for Firmino, and you've got to make these selfless runs. It's not about you. It's not about getting all the goals. It's about the team. It's about performance, and it's about the team winning. And I don't know if that feels right at Liverpool.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if we're looking for some like something rotten in Liverpool to like explain it, or whether it is just like that is just Mane and who he is, because like he has had previous on that. But I mean, it is a little bit obnoxious when the game is done and dusted. Poor old Crystal Palace and Roy Hodgson to then bring on Mohamed Salah. Like, you don't need to do that. You don't need to bring on Salah. Like, I respect Liverpool for everything that they are and everything that they do, but like, I don't know. Maybe don't bring on Salah in that game. Let him have the game off. Let him rest. You don't need to win 7-0. The game is over. You've outclassed them. It's over. It's over.
Yeah, I don't know if they had anyone else to bring in up. And I think it's about rotation. You've got to save everyone's legs and make it and rotate because there's so many games. But yeah, and I think I am going in a bit hard on Mane as well. But I think he gets a very light ride in the Mr. Nice Guy attitude, one that I'm not sure that he deserves. But yeah.
I have a question for you. Would your opinion be changing if he had scored as many goals as Mohamed Salah this season? Do we put up these goal scorers on a pedestal and like give them a break? They can like do whatever they want, behave whatever they want, but like it's almost, I don't know, like Mane hasn't scored that much this season, and it's like I don't know if you get to, I don't know if you get to like throw your toys out the pram if you're not like number one.
Well, Firmino doesn't score that much, and I think he's talked about the selfish, the creator, and I think he's as recognised as that integral part of that fluid front three as anyone without getting the goals. So I think Mane's got off easy this season. So no one's really pointing the finger at him, saying like he's not scoring as many as he did. He's and I don't know. I think maybe part of it was that he's feeling the pressure. He feels he does want to be on the same pedestal as Salah. I don't think Firmino does. I think Firmino is more interested in the team play and the wins and the creation, and he doesn't have to be top man. I think Mane feels like he should be top man, at least challenging Salah.
Also, people don't want to upset Firmino because everyone's seen that scene, and you know this better than I do, in the James Bond movie where there's the Jaws guy with the big teeth, right? No one wants to mess with the guy with the big teeth.
Well,
like Luis Suarez, Jaws from James Bond, Firmino, what is he capable of? I don't know. I'm not saying anything.
I think if you're talking about big teeth, you must be talking about Jurgen Klopp, the biggest, brightest gnashers I've ever seen. He's like Gnasher from the Beano. It is terrifying. Terrifying.
It's got to the point with Jurgen Klopp where I'm like, even when he's smiling and being nice, I'm terrified.
And it fits Firmino though. He's like young. He's got like the brown skin. He looks great. He could just get off the beach of Rio. And then you've got old man Klopp with like haggard face, beard, hat, glasses, but still these big white gnashers that make no sense in his head. Firmino, I get. He looks great. I think Klopp's terrifying.
Yeah,
Taking
Firmino
down...
does look a lot like Ross from Friends in that episode. So you are right. That is a great move.
It's Klopp's. Are they dentures? I don't know. Like, is he a teeth whitening and
He
straightening?
looks like he's
dentures.
we don't want to. Yeah, he. I don't know if like in my like experienced medical opinion that Klopp looks like he's had some dental surgery.
What, veneers? I think they're called veneers, right? I think Russell Brand had them because he had like crackhead teeth, and
you like chisel them down, and then
you put like real teeth over the top or like fake teeth over the top. So maybe he's got bit. I don't know. I don't want to get sued by Klopp saying he's got veneer. I don't know.
He's probably. Let's be honest. Klopp's probably on crack.
Probably.
Like the way, like his energy levels, his like bulging eyeballs. I'm sure there's something going on there. I think you've hit on something. Yeah. I think we should dedicate a whole podcast to it next week. We'll
call it the libelous episode where we get sued and we lose all our money from Klopp's lawyers. That'll be great. All right, let's move on to the next one. Oh, this is really just get the stuck in on Arteta is why I brought this one in. Everton 2, Arsenal 1. Everton are in 4th and Arsenal in 15th. So let's start with Everton and just the effect that Ancelotti has had on Everton. Like, this is back to the David Moyes days of Everton. The right balance, the right players, the exciting football. I mean, what a turnaround for this team and what a job he's done.
Yeah, I mean, they're great, and they are looking amazing, and they've had a great season, and they started particularly well. I do feel we have to. I don't know. We have to be a little bit cautious about our excitement over Everton, just because I feel like at the moment they are scraping through games and struggling to score goals. Now, that isn't necessarily a bad thing, particularly when a team has a long-term identity and they show a history of doing that, of like, oh, this is how this club performs when the going gets tough. At the moment, it's yet to be proved if that is just a blip, a little bit of luck, a bit of form that they've hit, or whether that's like written into their identity and their DNA. And so I'm holding my breath on Everton at the moment. As like one of the original clubs, the initial clubs of like the old, like the first, what is it? The first like First Division, the FA, Football Association and stuff. Like, I love to see Everton there, and their fans are amazing, and so it's really good to see it. But I don't know. I'm worried if I feel they've dropped off a bit. That's all I'm concerned about.
Yeah, and I think that they do just miss James Rodriguez. Ben and I spent a lot of time in the first 10 weeks talking about Dominic Calvert-Lewin and if he's any good or not. So what's your take on that key player?
It's hard, isn't it? But you can't score the number of goals that he's scored without being good. You just can't do that. And what is good about him is that he's good with his feet. He's good with a shot. He can score from, like, obviously his positioning is excellent. Actually, weirdly, he reminds me a lot of Gary Lineker, the way that like he can shoot from the edge of the area, he can score in different situations, he can head the ball, his positioning is great. I think he's decent. It is weird that he's just only started but he was playing well before Ancelotti came in. Do you remember? I don't know, like even at the beginning of last season, I feel like he was knocking in some goals, and we were always like, oh, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, is he going to be any good? What's he going to do? I feel like he's constantly improving. If we can say anything about him, we can say that he is his arc is like towards that of just like increasing and improving. But what he needs to do is, he's had 10 goals this season? already, something along those lines. Anyway, I need to look at this the figures. But the question is, will he do it again next season? And I think if he does it again next season, then I think we'll know if he is that player that we want him to be.
Are you
And
sending
also,
him to the Euros?
oh, it has to be, yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, he at the moment he has to be. Now, if he doesn't score another goal between now and the Euros, then obviously no. But as an English striker, he is what joint top scorer in the league this season, or he's up there and thereabouts. He's in the mix. He has to go. He really does. I don't. Yeah, I understand what you mean. We don't quite know enough about him yet, and he isn't prolific enough to make us go, or he isn't doing like wizardry, wonderful, mind-bending shit to make us go, holy shit, this guy is outrageously good, like when like Rooney did when he first came on the scene.
Or like
Do you know what I mean?
Vardy. Do you remember like Vardy this season? Just like the range of his finishing, the one-on-ones, the near post like dinks and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then what was it? The 11 in a row? Was it 11
Mm.
games in a row or
Yeah,
12 in
scored in
a
every
row
game.
season when they won the Premier League? Like, yeah, what I love about Vardy, he hasn't changed. He doesn't seem to have slowed down. It's like 5 years later. He's like 52 years old and he hasn't slowed down a blip.
But you're right about Dominic Calvert-Lewin, is that I think I spent a lot of time trying to tell Ben about Football Manager and what his role would be in Football Manager. But I agree, it's someone that's probably come on leaps and bounds in the last season, which is weird for an older player as well. And you don't see it much. Or maybe it's just that the system is starting to tweak more to what his individual assets are as well. So if I was putting him in Football Manager, I'd be putting him as a poacher. I'd be putting him as his decisions, his movement, his finishing, like all the 20s, and maybe everything else is low, but maybe like the style they're playing just suits him down to a T because he's getting on the edge of everything. He's getting in that 6-yard box. He does everything well. He's not a flashy flamboyant. He's not Salah knocking it in from the outside of the area, but he's getting on the end of something. So I think when you have that poacher, I think he is great in that poaching role.
He is. And yeah, I think you're right. But you know what's interesting? I don't know if I haven't looked at the statistics for this, but since Luca Dean has been absent with his injury, I do feel that Calvert-Lewin's goals have dropped off. And in fact, you could say that Everton's goals in total have dropped off. It's kind of terrifying if that correlation is bared out with like actual like that is the reason for it. That's kind of worrying for Everton, and it's kind of worrying for the rest of the team that like that one player could have so much influence on the goals that they score and their attacking threat.
James Rodriguez is a big miss for them as well, and
That's
there's
right.
something to be said that now it's getting cold. He's getting less and less into it, and like in the Premiership, even less and less. But you're right. I think they've got some big injuries. They're missing. They're still winning games though, which is
Yeah,
amazing.
good for them. And I think that's important. And it seemed like this week, particularly, he seemed relieved. He was like, I feel like he verbalized his inner thoughts and relief over the fact that, like, yes, that wasn't our best game. But we perform our best? No, but we can still churn out the result. And I think I feel like he really showed his hand in that post-match interview. And I think it makes me think that like he knows they are under strength. He knows they're underpowered. He knows they're weakened, and like any points that they can get at the moment is a bonus. If they can get, I don't know how long Dean and Rodriguez are out for, but they need them back. If they have any aspirations for finishing in the top four, they need those two players back.
Yeah, totally agree. Let's go two-footed in on Arsenal like their players like to do. So, you're Arsenal. You're in 15th. I feel that I have been very generous with Arsenal. Like, I've been like, let him go. He won you the FA Cup last season. He had a great start, finished the season well. You know, it's a tough squad, takes a while to get his message across. But I look at the table now, it's Christmas. They're 15th. In the last 5 games, they've lost 4, drawn 1. For Arsenal, and like they spent money, they brought in Partey for 45 million. They finally got that defensive midfield that they wanted as well. If you're Grubby, if you're the Arsenal board, what do you do now?
It's so hard. It's so hard. Arsenal do not jump to rash dismissals. That is their history. But you know what? I have no idea. It's kind of unprecedented, isn't it? For like
I read today that they said that they have a contingency plan. Like if they get relegated, then they've got a plan for that. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if Arsenal Football Club's relegated?
I mean, I like hope it happens. Like that'd be absolutely amazing. Like
is that worse than Leeds?
You what?
Do you remember when Leeds went down, when they were Championship League challengers and they got relegated?
Yeah, and I can barely remember it because it feels like a lifetime.
It was Harry Kewell, Viduka.
Wasn't it just after they won the league?
Alan Smith. Did Leeds win the league?
They won the league. They weren't. Oh God.
They were Champions League. I don't think they won the league. I think they were Champions League.
I think they were. I feel like they won the league in 1991. Weren't they the last team to win the Premier, to win the top flight before the Premier League? I might be wrong. I feel 91 is the. Check it out.
I'm going to Google it right now. But go on, tell me what you do if you're Arsenal board.
It's. I hope it happens because I need a break from the monotony. I'm tired of like the top 6. I'm tired of like these untouchable teams that can't lose, that can't not be in Europe, that can't ever fail. I feel like money has kind of ruined football, and I want to see Arsenal go down. I really do. Having said that, there's no chance they're going to go down. Let's be honest.
You really don't think there's any chance? So, do you keep Arteta and write this season off?
I don't think they can get any worse than they are right now. And at the moment, they're averaging a point a game. They're going to get, and if they do not improve, they'll get 38 points, and that's going to be enough to stay up. I saw enough in their game today, this last weekend. I saw enough in their game, particularly in the last 10 minutes. Yes, they had they'd spurned loads of opportunities. Yes, they were terrible, and their positioning and their fluidity. And Pepe has no interest in getting into the 18-yard box to be on the end of a cross. There's definitely trouble in paradise at the Emirates Stadium. But in the last 10 minutes, they showed a lot of fight and they created a lot of opportunities. They hit the woodwork. I thought that those last 10 minutes of that game showed me that they definitely have enough not to fall into that relegation scrap fight. I think they're going to be okay. And those last 10 minutes may be enough to convince the board that Arteta has enough of a cohesive team mentality and unit to do something about it. Despite that, though, clearly, no matter what happens, this is going to be the worst Premier League season that Arsenal have ever had. The question is, do they care? Does the board care? Does that bother them that much? Do they have enough of a brand, a global brand, for that to, satiate the shareholders? I think that's really what it comes down to, and whether they'll sack Arteta or not. Because Arteta, you got to remember, Arteta is bleeds Arsenal colours.
Red. Red and white.
Yeah, exactly.
He bleeds red. Everyone bleeds red.
What did you find? Was I right? Did Leeds win in 91?
No, it was so 91. One I pulled up like the most complex chart I've ever seen. No, it doesn't look like they did. In 91, they're in the first division. They weren't even in the Premier League. So they didn't get the Premier League didn't start, I guess, till 92, 93. And then they came. So this is their list. Is this it? Oh no, that's wins. Anyway, listen. 01, 02, okay, when they came 5th, then 15th, then they came 19th. So I don't think they ever won the Premier League.
Was what? Okay, all right, yeah. I don't know. This is embarrassing. All right. Does this mean that I should never be on a football chat podcast ever again? Why did I think they won the
I
league?
think the first 49 minutes has told us that you shouldn't be on a football podcast ever again. I don't think that's new news to any listeners, but
Am I used to the C word last week?
yeah, reinforcing how worthless you are. But okay, so you think this is what I took from what you said, that they're not going to go down. Everyone thinks they're shit anyway. They're making money. Let's not do anything. Is that pretty much the summary here?
Yeah, like what are they in for? They're not in for winning the league anyway. So what does it matter?
So
Like
keep Tella.
the only reason that they want to finish in the top 4 is for the income revenue of the Champions League and the TV rights deal. So
do you think Arteta's going to do better next season?
Sorry, what?
Do you think Arteta's going to do better next season?
I don't think you can do worse. Yeah.
Mr. High Standards there. Gee.
I don't know what you want me to say. I'm just not that. I'm quite ambivalent towards the abject failure of Arsenal Football Club. If anything, I'm find it mildly entertaining if I can be bothered to think about it.
I love it. I think that I think time's running out for Arteta, and I think even now it's pretty unforgivable. He got knocked out in the League Cup against City, which is today 4-1. I just don't know who I could bring in it. Now, maybe if I can find Pochettino, he sounds like the perfect manager for Arsenal. And I know this is the one I go to for everyone for United, for anyone that gets sacked, any Big Four club. I think if you've got Pochettino waiting in the wings, you bring him in, because what he can do in terms of development, bring players through, increase the value of players, buy young players, bring up their value. That is the perfect manager for Arsenal. So maybe that would be a better fit.
Yeah, possibly. And obviously, the more success that Sir Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has as time goes by, the less likely it is that Pochettino comes in, particularly if they challenge for the title. Or maybe that's just what they have anyway. Like, it blows my mind that, like, what? Okay, so this is an important question. What the fuck is going on with Pochettino? Like, what is he waiting for? What are other people waiting for? I'm curious to know, like, what potential pre-contracts he has signed with clubs, because it's weird how quiet it's been. It's strange to me how quiet it's been. But like, if I was Pochettino, I wouldn't go to Arsenal. It's the last place I would want to go. Like the graveyard for management. Like all these potential excellent managers, and the club is not set up, and the leadership of the club isn't interested in, say, an overhaul of the squad. They're not interested in challenging for the league title. That's just not what they're about. They have no interest in doing that. They don't care about doing that.
Yeah.
I don't think that is for Pochettino. While it may be good for Arsenal to get Pochettino, they would never get him. And if he does go there, I think it'd be ridiculous.
I think it's less about, like, I think they're ambitious, but I think it's more important to balance the books. And I think that they had the perfect manager in Wenger when he was as interested in balancing books as the board were. And I think Pochettino is someone that suffers, and every player has this. As soon as a player gets injured on a long-term injury, as soon as a manager gets sacked and is out the game, their reputation grows. And wouldn't it be great if we had so-and-so back from injury? They would be the best player. If we got Pochettino back, someone that was fired from Spurs after 5 seasons and no silverware. I do think he's probably got a reputation now outperforming his actual ability. But I
Totally,
do.
totally agree. It's almost like distance makes the heart grow fonder. It's like when Joe Biden was in the Democratic primaries for like getting nominated for the general election for the Democrats in the US. It's like, don't, whatever you do not speak in public. Hide away in your bunker. Do not say anything, because the longer that time goes by without you saying anything or without anyone seeing you, the more likely you are that people would like you and appreciate you and vote for you. There's definitely a case of that with Pochettino.
Absolutely. It's almost that horror movie idea, like, or Jaws. You don't show the shark at all. You let people's imagination create this scariness of the shark. You let people's imagination grow to like, oh, Pochettino's going to come in and win us the Champions League and the league in his first season. You let people's imaginations run wild, for sure. And I think that Pochettino is probably the most successful manager, or at least the most popular manager who's not in work right now. So as soon as someone flirts with a big job, flirts with being fired, so we saw it with Zidane. Zidane was almost fired, saved his job. PSG manager almost fired, saved his job. Ole, all these managers who are like doing really bad, and they're like, Pochettino's getting ready, he's signing pre-contracts, he's in negotiations, never really works out. So I feel that if I'm Pochettino, and like people are saying, you're the best manager ever, you're going to get your pick of jobs, you just have to be patient. But then I'm still sitting at home at Christmas thinking, no one's called. I wanted the Man United job, it never came. Ole's doing all right. I wanted the Real Madrid job, that never came. Zidane's kind of turned things around. And am I going to go to Arsenal? You know, I think my vision is it feels very similar to the conditions I worked under. Spurs, I had a board with not that much money, not billionaire oil money, that wanted just gradual progression, stability. He feels, and I don't know if like he was just put into that job, he became the Spurs job because that's where he was, or if he does want to just suddenly splash the cash, buy all the best players in the world, and Real Madrid would be so good to him. But I don't think Spurs would be too bad. I think he would be back in the Premiership, back in London, at a team that gives him a little bit of money to bring through young talent, attractive football. I think that'd be a really good fit for him. So maybe we kick out Arteta and we bring in Poch.
Yeah, maybe.
But you're right. Does he want to come?
I don't think he wants to come along for the party, for the shit show of a bunch of players who aren't that. No, I don't know. It's just I just feel like I need more time. I think more than anything, Arteta needs more time, and with it being a weird year, like a very weird year, I think he's going to get that time.
Right.
And that's really interesting. I hadn't heard the thing that you'd said about like, oh, if they go down, we have a contingency for that. It's like, that sounds to me like they're like ride or die Arteta. So that's cool. I think that's good.
Yeah,
good for them.
I agree. They do stick with managers, which I think can be applauded, much to the duration of their Arsenal fans. All right, last game. West Brom. So Big Sam's first game back. West Brom 0, Aston Villa 3. What is up with Aston Villa? They're a great team to watch this season. Night and day from this is a team that barely stayed up last season. What's your take on Aston Villa right now? And why the change?
They barely stayed up last season. But what they did do in the final, 6 or 7 games of last season is they picked up a lot of points. And they've got a manager who is claret and blue through and through. They've got John Terry. I don't actually know what he brings to the table.
Violence, racism, shouting mates, girlfriends,
and infidelity. Which, to be honest, is in line with the mentality of most professional footballers. So that galvanizes the squad as well. No, they've been brilliant. They've been really, really good. And I've been particularly impressed with El Ghazi this season. He's like a super attacking threat, even more than he was last season when he was kind of new on the Premier League stage. He's been brilliant. Grealish is just really riding the wave of his own image and the media hype around him, and I think he may well be living up to that hype. I wasn't a big fan of Grealish at the beginning, particularly when he came into the Premier League, particularly when there was a lot of angst around him and his like desire to like not be at Everton not be at Aston Villa anymore. I don't know if you remember that, but that was an issue. He was looking to like for a move away from Villa. As soon as they got into the Premier League, had a bit of a reputation as a bit of a wide boy as well. But he has really grown as well. Another player, along with Dominic Calvin-Lewin, who's grown a lot over the past 12 months, has been really impressive. Mings is establishing himself at the back. They got Martinez in goal. How many clean sheets have they had in the past 8 games? It's been a lot. I think they seem now like a comfortably mid-table Premier League team, who really were on the very, very brink of relegation last season. They were one bad result away from relegation last season, and well, my team Watford went down instead. But you know what? They're actually, even though it's hard for me to say this, they're proving their worth, and I think they are well deserved members of the Premier League. And it's fun to see them play. I like seeing them play. The only issue I'd have is like Ollie Watkins. I do worry what's going on with him. He seems to be lacking from a bit of confidence. Stop taking penalties. I wonder where the goals are going to keep coming from if he doesn't turn his form around.
I agree. I think Ollie Watkins he is offside every single game for at least 2 goals. But he's young and I don't know. But I think that you always know Villa are going to create. They're always going to create. I think Jack Grealish, you're right. He is another person for most improved player. He was good when he came and he was probably the best thing last season about Villa. He is on a whole different level. He's up there with one of the best attacking midfielders in the Premiership as well, along with Bruno and KDB as well. He is absolutely outstanding. And hopefully now at the end of the season, he's going to be a shoo-in for that England squad as well, because he is so exciting and so fun to watch as well. He's the most foul player. I have a note here about Jack Grealish's shin pads and how he has the smallest little postage stamp of a shin pad. He wears his socks rolled down. He's got massive calves, massive thighs, and tiny little shorts. So he pushes his socks down, probably cuts them as well. But if I'm getting as fouled as Jack Grealish, I am wearing big suit of armour, maybe cricket pads, maybe hockey pads, trying to protect my legs as possible. But his shin pads must be, you can't even see them with his socks rolled down. He needs to protect those shins.
I was like, is he even wearing shin pads? He's going for the complete opposite of like Michael Owen. Michael Owen, whose legs were 95% shin pad. You now have Jack Grealish who's like, fuck this. I don't need shin pads. I don't know where that's from. It's very unusual. Like he doesn't even pull his socks up. Not that that's an issue. I'm just not used to it. I don't know what's going on there. What's happening? What do you think?
I think he needs to protect those legs and ankles as much as possible, especially coming to the Euros. So I like to see him wear like full hockey cricket pads that go right up to his knees as well. Maybe wrap him in cotton wool. But it just worries me. All right, I'm going to take this in a different direction. So we're going to go into the theoretical again, spin out into space. So West Bromwich Albion, big trouble. They are currently sitting in 19th. You're Big Sam. You've come in, and now you can buy one player to decide whether what's going to turn your season around. This can be any player from any generation, any position. So a little bit of like, who do you think's a great player, and what do you think that team needs in terms of, do they need to defend, do they need to attack? What does that team need? So who's going to be your dream player that Big Sam's going to bring in to turn that ship around?
Well, at the beginning, West Brom were like tipped as like, oh, the cannon fodder of like the Premier League. We're going to just go along and just like fill our boots, score against them. Who wants a hat trick? Lining up to score goals. Any other cliches you want to add to that post editing, you're welcome to add. But they've actually tightened up a bit at the back, and it's a shame that Bilic was let go because I like him. I think he's a character. I think he's a good manager as well. He got him promoted and got a good point against City, but I don't know. They seem to be struggling up front. So if we're talking about like great players from the past, maybe like I don't know Pele, Diego Maradona, bring them in, score some goals for them. No, seriously though, I don't really know. I don't know what they need. They are an average team who've come up, and I just think it's pretty expected that they're going to go down. They haven't invested heavily this season. They haven't like come out and with like a strong identity that Leeds have brought to the league, or that Sheffield United brought to the league last season. They haven't come up with some like hot like player who can who can win games for them. I thought Pereira was going to be that, but he's been mostly ineffective, and he was all right at the start of the season, but seems to have like drifted out since then. So I really don't know about West Brom. I just think that they are down, and no one I'd rather see get relegated than Big Sam.
Wow.
I'm a big fan. So yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. So I look at their where they are in the table, and I look at their goals against as well. So it looks like they've conceded 19 goals, which is more than anyone in that bottom half of the table. So I'm trying to think, well, what can I do to improve their defence? Now you say they've tightened up in recent games. I'm sure that's the first thing Big Sam's going to be working on. So here's where my brain's gone. How do we kind of shore up the back, but also make sure we don't leave that creative force as well? So I'm looking at those defensive midfield generals. I'm looking at Roy Keane. I think Roy Keane's great in the fact that he can be the bad boss as well. So Big Sam's stripped the captain of his captaincy, says the captain roles open. They just have to step up and improve as well. I think he's pretty hard on his players, not a nice guy. And I think you just have that enforcer, Keane, as well. He's showing that never say die. He's protecting that back four. He's making runs into the box as well. So maybe a Roy Keane character there as well. In the same vein, I'm looking at Steven Gerrard and Jordan Henderson. Now, maybe Henderson as well, because he's selfless. He could be that nice guy. So when Big Sam says, I hate you all, you're all terrible, I think Jordan Henderson's going to be the guy that the behind the scenes guy said, it's okay, he loves you, he just gets like this sometimes, don't worry, you guys have got this, I believe in you. So I think he's going to be a good yin to the Big Sam Yang. So I'd like Jordan Henderson in that dressing room as a captain, as a leader, selfless, make those runs, protect that back four, also score the odd goal and create as well. I think that'd be a good buy for West Brom this January transfer window.
Yeah, I completely agree. Also, like Roy Keane is absolutely terrifying. And talking of Roy Keane, I was like reading about. I just went. I fell like down an internet black hole about Roy Keane, like I often do. And because I don't know, that tackle on Alf-Inge Haaland is just like burned into my brain, and like how Roy Keane behaved after it, and like what he said, like he'd been waiting like 8 months to like fucking rupture his whatever it was that he was planning, right? Really terrifying. And who's that? Who's that Dortmund player?
Erling Haaland. Yeah.
Eric, is it Eric? Erling, that's it. Erling Haaland. That's Alf-Inge Haaland's son.
Yeah.
Who's lined up to come and play for Manchester City.
For City. Yeah, that's where his dad played.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think so I'm like I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to hearing what Roy Keane says about that.
You know, I
Because
found
United's
out
got
this
to come up
season.
right, and he's going to say something. I'm looking forward to it.
I found out this season that was his son as well. Looks completely different positions. Amazing, but I guess in the right age, right? You've got Schmeichel and his son playing in the Premiership, so about the right age. The math works out. But yeah, it's strange that such an industrious, really labourman defensive midfielder has this son who's this attacking goal monster at Borussia Dortmund. A lot of people are saying, well, because of that whole Roy Keane thing, that's a reason Erling Haaland won't come to Man United. I'm like, that is not the reason he won't come to Man United. I think the reason is because Man United are crap and he could go to any club in the world and he's not going to choose United. But yeah, I think United fans use that as this is a reason why he won't come to us. But yeah.
Whatever makes him sleep well at night.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's do this. So West Bromwich Albion, they stay up because Big Sam's never been relegated. So in the bottom three, you've got Sheffield, West Brom, Fulham. The three teams above them are Brighton, Burnley, Arsenal. Who is getting relegated out of those three instead of West Brom?
I just don't. I just think that they are going to get relegated. I can't pretend that they're not going to get relegated. And I think the bottom three. I'm the bottom three: Fulham, West Brom, Sheffield United. They're the teams that are going to go down. I don't see it changing. Brighton manager, I have a lot of time for and a lot of respect for. I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be all right. Burnley have too much organizational kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like organizational strength of mind and experience in the Premier League to go down, and organization on the field. Obviously, Arsenal aren't going to go down. I do not see anyone. I just see Fulham, West Brom, and United going down. That's all we've got. I know Fulham have looked a little bit better lately, and you could argue that they could make a bit of a surge. West Brom have a new manager. Are they going to get that manager bounced? But they just lost. Sheffield United, 100,000% down. Yeah, I don't see it changing. What did you have an idea?
No, I agree with that. I don't know. I see Brighton getting sucked down. I don't know why, but it just worries me that they've Morpie is hot or cold. They're good defensively, but I see that changing. I don't know. I don't feel great about Brighton, and if there's one team that I could swap into that bottom three, I could see Fulham maybe taking that 17th spot instead. But yeah. It's going to be an interesting. But yeah, I think Fulham, West Brom, Sheffield.
I think that could happen, and I think the thing is, right, unlike last season where it seemed like anyone in the bottom eight could go down, it does feel different this year. If we look in the bottom half of the table, West Ham in 10th are playing out of their skins and looking amazing. I'm very worried about Wolves. I see Wolves dropping like a stone. Since Jimenez went, that team has lost its mentality. That team has lost. I'm not saying just that they lost Jimenez and so that they've lost their ability to win games. But I think there was something else going on at Wolves. Do not seem to. We start the season talking about Wolves as like one of the best defenses in the league. Cannot keep a clean sheet to save their lives. Newcastle, no idea. Palace looking like they could be, looking solid, although they've had a couple of dodgy results. Leeds can beat anyone on their day. Arsenal probably realistically have the talent to not get relegated. I just think we're looking at the bottom five. I think that's it. I think it's Burnley, Brighton, Fulham, West Brom, and Sheffield United. I just don't really see it changing very much amongst those five. But it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this season it's pretty obvious to see who are the unperform or low performers this year, and yeah, it's much different to last year as well. And yeah, I don't know if the Premiership would miss Fulham, West Brom, and Sheffield, to be honest. But yeah, okay. Let's get on to last few things. Winner of the week. I'll go with my winner of the week. So I went for John Lundstrom, Premiership hero last year, especially an FPL hero with the whole Lord Lundstrom. But this is his big swan song. So he won a point for Sheffield. He then got a red card for one of the biggest.
Don't want to upset the manager.
Sheffield United. Sorry. That's a great point. Or Sheffield wins, same thing. Got a red card, and this could be his last game he plays for Sheffield. So I was reading about it. He's ending his. So at the end of last season, his contract was up, and they forced him to sign another 12-month extension. That was last season. So the end of the season, so summer comes, he'll be out of contract. He is holding out for more money, which he can't get out of Sheffield United. So he said, fine, I'm going to run down my contract. So January transfer window opens. His red card now takes him through to January, and Sheffield will be looking to offload a player that doesn't want to play there anymore. 6 months left on their contract, can get some money for them. So this may be the last game that Lundstrom's played for Sheffield United.
Isn't that like such a shame? Like the euphoria and excitement around Lundstrom, particularly in the fantasy Premier League community last year. The fact that you had this defender, this unknown, unheard of defender who was like actually playing in midfield, scoring goals, assisting goals, but I don't know. It was a little bit weird that like the second half of last season he didn't really feature as consistently. I think that's a real shame. Like, where would he go though? Like, who's gonna take him on? That's like the first I've heard of it though, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Poor John Lundstrom, but like you said, he will go down in the annals of fantasy football history as Lord Lundstrom, like 4.04 million pound defender, raking in the goals and the points, clean sheets. That first half of the season, Sheffield United weren't conceding goals, and he was scoring as well. Unbelievable.
He was a great one. Okay, so who's your winner of the week?
My winner of the week is Firmino. It is great to see him back. We all love him. We love his smile. We love his energy. We love what he brings to the Liverpool team, creating space, diverting players, drawing defenders away. And that's why he keeps playing. But last week, that bullet header was one of the most beautiful headers I've ever seen. I love that bullet header. This week, he's back. He's looking happy. He's scoring goals. And both of his goals were beautifully taken. The first one, a little like late run into the box, picking it up, beautiful control, one touch and into the bottom corner. And his second goal, a beautifully taken dink over the keeper from quite a tight angle. And I don't know. I think if Firmino is playing well, if Firmino's scoring goals, then Liverpool are on track anyway. But if Firmino is scoring goals as well, I feel they're absolutely unstoppable. So he's my winner of the week.
Yeah, he's a silky player for sure. So, loser of the week. Who have you got down as your loser of the week?
I actually have the same as you. I'm worried about Arteta. I'm worried about Arsenal. Can I just say Arsenal? I know loser is singular, but I just want to say Arsenal is the loser of the week. I am, my Schadenfreude is emotions are pretty strong right now, and I am enjoying it, but it is awful, and it is terrifying if you're an Arsenal fan. It really is. Like, where do you see the goals coming from? Where do you see a win coming from? Like this Arteta, this talisman of your club, who started so well and so strongly. It seemed, I don't know, the team have lost their focus. I don't know where they're going. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't see them picking up points next week. And I think we talked about it last week. We said, "Oh, do we don't even." When we previewed the Everton Arsenal game, we're like, yeah, just don't see Arsenal getting anything from this game. And I'm surprised they even scored a goal. I'm surprised they scored a goal. I don't know where they're going to go. Um, what's your take on Arteta?
So I think that we might see the first domino fall in the idea of the DNA manager. The fact that you've been a talisman player for the club means that you'll be a talisman manager and that you understand the club more than anyone. The Solskjaer, the Zidane, the Frank Lampard, then the Arteta. And I think this is a new fad we've seen within the Premiership. And I feel it is a fad that you come in here with no experience, and the idea that you know the club and were a great player for the club means that you can successfully manage a club because you sat through all that Sir Alex Ferguson half-time talks, because you understand the DNA of the fans at Stamford Bridge. That was going to make you a great manager. I think that's such flawed thinking. And we know typically at Christmas is when the manager loses his job. So if I'm Arteta, I think this is the most worrying thing. Every time the fax goes, every time I get a text message, every time the phone rings, you're almost answering your phone at like a, who is it? Who is it? And then like, oh, it's just Grandma. Thank God. Hello, Grandma. Like worried that it's going to be the board at Arsenal telling you that you don't need to come in tomorrow, that we're done with you. I think it's just the amount of pressure on those shoulders, the world shoulders, people screaming for you to get fired. It's a terrible, terrible job. And this is like...
You're a little bit biased when it comes to that idea. You are very anti-DNA manager just because you've wanted Solskjaer out for like the past 2 years. Right? You can't like you've been unconvinced by him. You've have been unimpressed. You've been talking about Pochettino for a couple of years now. But I feel like Solskjaer's doing all right. I know that's going to be hard. You probably might have another take on that, but like his DNA comes through when he taught. I suppose for a DNA man, now I'm kind of like talking out. I'm thinking out loud now. For a DNA manager to be successful, your club kind of needs to have a successful DNA to begin with. And the question is, was Arteta, did he really experience like long-term like success with Arsenal like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did with Man United? I feel like half the time Ole is talking about Man United. He's talking about their success. He's talking about like what Man United players do, like how you think as a Man United player. And he's been through those big games and been successful. And you can see he like oozes. If there's ever a definition of a DNA manager, it is him. Does Arteta have that? I know he played for Arsenal. But is he Arsenal in the same way that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is Man United?
And I think it's interesting about the DNA manager as well. And I do think DNA is an important part of being a manager. But it's not so much... I think there's things that you recognise the club that you recognise that are important. Ole's brought great things around. There's a pride to playing for Man United. There is an expectation. There is a you're going to give your heart for the club. All great. The bringing through youth. All those great things. I think he's done really, really well. I think that you also suffer from though, and I think having Mike Phelan as his assistant coach has been really beneficial for him. And I think we're not seeing a lot of the coaching and setting players up, etc. And I think being in the dressing room with Alex Ferguson as well has probably helped him understand the way to deal with players, manage players, inspire players, etc., etc., etc. I guess my feeling is this though. So that's one side of the game. The other side of the game is the tactics. It is the thinking through of games, formations, systems, identity, and I think if you look at his track experience with Mulder, where he was okay, I think the Mulder are the best Norwegian team. He won it once when he should have won it. At his 3 seasons, he should have won all 3 titles. He won 1 title. He was the Swansea or the Cardiff manager. Which one was he? That's Cardiff manager.
Cardiff, yeah.
He was terrible. He got fired. So I don't, I think there's a lot of things he does right. I don't think United are playing to their best. I think they've got no plan B, and they got knocked out the Champions League in the group stage, knocked out the cups as well. So, and for the players they have and the talent they have, and bringing Bruno Fernandes when they did really, really helped Ole. So I can say the jury's still out, because I think there's a lot of good and there's bad in that club, but I don't think far and away he's overperforming. I think the same argument you can almost make for Frank Lampard, that he is at that club, and with the players he has, the money they spent this season. Now, last season when he just had kids and no Hazard, he did a good job. But this season, he's still not. Everyone thought they were nailed on for the league, and still he struggles with the depth of bench he has, with the attacking, the goals he's creating, not getting the best out of Timo Werner. You know what? I will say, none of these DNA managers are doing amazing, but they're not doing terrible either. So it makes it really hard to come to a conclusive decision, because I do think DNA is a part of it. I just don't think it gets you everything.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, totally agreed with that last point. I do think Frank's doing well, and I do also think that, like, just because you're a DNA manager, so to speak, doesn't mean you're Pep Guardiola. I think we have to remember that, and I think, like anyone else, they need time, and you could see what definitely impresses me about these managers. Frank, his evolution is rapid and quick. He's not like he's not becoming stale. He's not like sitting on like his on any beliefs. He's making changes that need to be made. He's talked about them. He was desperate to bring in the goalkeeper and made a change, and that's happened. The defense has shored up, made a big difference. Ole, I just love Ole because of he just seems unbreakable, like mentally unbreakable. The man has like an inner sureness about him. And I just think that's really impressive, considering the amount of pressure he's under, the amount of pressure that is on the Man United job, considering how many haters there are out there. I think it's really impressive to see Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's positivity and confidence in his own ability and confidence in his squad. I think that really does stand out. Arteta, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? It's looking real bad.
The other player we're not talking about is Scott Parker as well. So at Fulham, as a Fulham ex-boy as well, he's another player that's come through as a boy from the inside as well. So yeah, I think there's lots of examples. I'll say I think it's a fad. This idea of like ex-players and also I don't think it's very fair on managers, because I think you look at who is the Penfold for Chelsea guy who chewed the cigarettes all the time?
Sarri.
Yeah, Sarri. So ex-managers that have come up just because they have great ideas of tactics, who aren't really football men, who never had really a great football career, like the Mourinhos, the Potocchinos, the Sarris. Like, people had different routes into football. I think they're very different skills to be a brilliant football manager versus a brilliant player. So I think I'm slightly annoyed that a lot of these players get these chances because of what they did in their playing career for the club versus what they've earned to be a manager at that club.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, definitely agree.
But I do think you'll see swings, as with everything in life, that you overcorrect. And where you had Sarri at Chelsea, where you had Moyes, Ancelotti at United, like, you want to kind of bring it back to North and try and bring it back to, this is not who we are as a club. And that's why you see these. I think it's going to swing the other way when you see these managers leave.
Yeah, I think I can. Yeah, completely agree with that point. Yeah.
Okay, so let's looking away. So I'll say next week, but literally in a few days' time, we've got so much crazy football. Expect to see a ton of rotation, ton of goals, a ton of injuries as well. So I picked three games that I've got my eye on next week, and there's not a lot that really jumped out as well, as you can see by number three. Wolves Spurs I put in as number three. How do you think that's going to turn out?
You know what? That's a tough one. Both teams are struggling. Spurs are off the back of two defeats, all admittedly to good teams. But there is that idea that, like I said a couple of weeks ago, and maybe again last week, that like Spurs have been overperforming their XG. They seem dependent on like moments of magic or people scoring from positions where you maybe wouldn't necessarily expect a goal, particularly when in with regards to Son and Kane, and they have struggled the past few games, but I do think long term, I don't think they're creating enough opportunities, standard opportunities like balls in the box, near clear cut opportunities to be on a run to win the league. So Spurs are in a weird position. Wolves, like I've already mentioned today, they just look absolutely down and out. I don't know if it's because their talisman is out, or if that was something that was like more deep rooted and a little bit more rotten in the core with Wolves in terms of they haven't kept a clean sheet for a very long time. They have been struggling. They're struggling up front for goals now with Jimenez. But then again, even before Jimenez got injured, he wasn't really scoring goals anyway. So I don't know. This is a weird game for me. I don't think it's going to tell us very much about either of these two teams in terms of their prospects or their future. I don't see. I feel like anything could happen. But then again, I don't think much is going to happen.
I agree. I think it'll be a quiet game. I think we always go into this thinking Wolves are going to be quiet games. They did beat Chelsea. They've got some green roots, and I think they've got Nito who's scoring goals now instead of Jimenez. But you're right. I think it's going to be tough for both teams. Both teams are going to be tired, absolutely exhausted as well. So it should be interesting which way this goes. Next one up is Arsenal Chelsea. Now this is a big one.
I mean, it can only go one way, and I just don't see anything else happening. I don't see anything from Arsenal that would suggest that they have any ability to get a result out of this game.
I will say Chelsea are missing Chilwell and James are both going to be out for this game. They've got Thiago in the centre. He can't be used to playing this many games back to back. So they're going to have a tired, and Zuma must be exhausted as well. He always looks exhausted. It's going to be a tired back four they're going to be playing against.
Yeah, it is. But saying that, yeah, that's a good point. But I feel like Chelsea played all right, didn't they? They kept so in the last game, wasn't it West Ham? Was it West Ham that they played last week or this weekend just gone? They won 3-0, and yeah, they got a couple of late goals through Tammy Abraham right at death. But they never really looked like conceding, and they didn't have James, and Chilwell went off in the 10th minute, and they still look pretty solid and organised at the back. I can't look past Chelsea in this game.
I think now's a really good time to play Arsenal as well. They look broken in spirit and ambition. So, agreed. Yeah. Okay, number one, Leicester City versus Man United. The two teams now with the counter-attack.
Oh, it's going to be like 7-7.
Is this going to be a gangbuster game, or is this going to be like a Man United, Man City game, or Man United Spurs, where both teams sit back too much?
I don't know. You know what? But if we look at the table, I think both teams you could look at it in a couple of ways. Two counter-attacking teams that could sit back and neutralize each other is probably most likely going to happen. But being counter-attacking teams, I don't know. It's hard to say. But I think the overriding emotion going into this game is the desire not to lose. And as a result, I do see it being a tightly fought contest. Maybe a 0-0, 1-0, 1-1 kind of result. But I think either way, it's going to be very close and it's going to be very tight, a little bit niggly. But I think either of these teams coming out, if they could take a draw right now or just not losing, they'd bite your hand off.
I agree. I think that's how we see a lot of these United games go as well. Although Leicester City did manage to break down the Spurs that play very similar as well. So I think we'll see. It might be interesting as well because we'll see if Man United approach this the same way they did Leeds or if they actually flex that formation, tactical muscle to play against a different formation. I don't think they will.
I suppose this would be Ole's opportunity to like prove his doubters wrong with that respect. It's that is definitely the most fascinating game of the weekend. I can't wait to watch it. I don't know. I think I do feel like Man United more than Leicester have the ability to win against any team, and particularly when you've got Bruno and you've got the wealth of attacking options that Man United have. I don't know. They certainly have less excuse to lose than Leicester. I'll give them that.
You say that about most games that Man United play. All right, we're definitely at time. This is probably the longest podcast that we've done to date. No surprises there. A lot to fit in on the Christmas bumper list. But I will wish you a Merry Christmas and speak to you in the after Christmas about all the new games.
Merry Christmas, buddy. And I guess when are the next games?
I think Boxing Day and onwards. Boxing Day, the day after Boxing Day. I don't know. It's crazy.
I'll see you next time. Looking forward to it.
All right. Take care. Happy Christmas. Bye.
You too. Bye.